Hey guys, welcome to the Touchdown Table. I'm Ryan, that's Tyler, that's Jordan. And in this video, we're going to be talking about the firing of Matt Patricia and Bob Quinn as well. So Detroit doing a house cleaning, and we're going to talk about the instant impact and also what we think is in the future for the Lions long term and where they might go for a possible replacement for Patricia.
Yeah, Ryan said it. They brought the sweep in. They cleaned house. And people have different opinions on this move. It's something that a lot of Lions fans have been calling for a while. There's been a lot of people around the Lions and really around the league who thought that Matt Patricia needed to go. And a lot of people are happy to see this. I'm personally on the fence about it. We'll probably get to that later. But the team was struggling. They started off doing all right this year, and then the last few games they really dropped. They got shut out in a game against the Panthers, and they got embarrassed on Thanksgiving, and that led to the firing of Mr. Matt Patricia and Mr. Bob Quinn.
Yeah, and Jordan and I have different opinions about the firing of Matt Patricia, and I mean, with him, sure, he was really good in New England. That's easy to realize with what he was able to do with them for a long time with them. But I said this earlier on our podcast. By the way, go check that out as well. We talked about this and other stuff in the NFL and college football. But he's just not a guy I feel like from the outside I would want to follow in the first place. And he's not a guy that has led this team to many wins. Let's be honest here. When he came into the Lions organization, they were 9-7 the year before that. And they've barely won 9 games since then. It just has not been good in the Matt Patricia era. I'm going to find the stats to back it up in just a second here. But for me, this was justified. It was about time for this to happen. I'm pretty sure Lions fans would agree.
Yeah, and just to build on what you said, I do think it was time for it to happen. I mean, just they brought him in from New England, and I feel like, I don't know, I just think that maybe he wasn't fit to be a head coach. He was a great defensive coordinator. He was great with New England, but I don't know, maybe he was trying too much to, be, or to create, another Patriots team in Detroit, but it's not. They're two different teams, two different systems. I mean, like, just think about the former Patriots that are on Detroit and on the defense. They got Duron Harmon, Jamie Collins. I tried to count last Thanksgiving all the former Patriots on that team. I know they have Danny Shelton was on the Patriots for a little bit. I feel like I'm missing.
It's them and the Dolphins that are just racking up these Patriots players. And you know what? Brian Flores was with the Patriots as well as a defensive coordinator.
Yeah, but Brian Flores is doing a little bit better. So, I mean, we'll see what happens. I think Patricia will get a job elsewhere, just not as a head coach, because he was a very good defensive coordinator. Let's not forget that. He was on a lot of their Super Bowl winning teams in New England. So, I mean, his football career is not over. I do think he'll find a job someplace, somewhere in the football realm. But as far as Detroit, I mean, they just haven't been getting it done. They fired Jim Caldwell after a 9-7 year, and that's saying that 9-7 isn't good enough, and now they kill for a 9-7 season. I mean, that's just so far off. Yeah, you can still get it if you win out, but I mean, when's this video coming out?
Friday.
Okay, yes. Just wanted to make sure. So you can still get it if you win out. So who knows? But I think with Detroit, it's just the expectations were not being met. This defensive mind wasn't quite translating to a great defense on the field, and I know this isn't defense, but you have a great quarterback in Matthew Stafford that is finally, I think, getting the attention and respect he deserves this season. And you're not really winning with him, even though this guy puts you in positions to win so often, and is really an awesome quarterback.
Yeah, and the thing is that with Detroit, they've been losing for so long. It's been so tough for them. They've had a long and hard stretch of time where they just can't win games. They can't put together good seasons. It's been tough to be a Detroit Lions fan for sure for a pretty long time. Even with Megatron there were a few decent years, but nothing ever to be quite too happy about. I think this year it's beginning to look up, and at the beginning of the year, I think they were playing much better football. I talked about it in our podcast, by the way. If you have not checked out our podcast, go check that out. It's also called The Touchdown Table. You can find that basically anywhere where you find podcasts. I think Spotify is the number one thing that everyone has. So if you have Spotify, go check us out there. If you have some other place to find us, go find us. But I mentioned it on the podcast with this team, and I forgot what I was going to say. It's not the first time I've done this.
Just pass it off if you want.
Hold on, I can think about it. Yeah.
All right. Well, Ryan ended with the point about Matthew Stafford and talking about how he is finally getting the respect he deserves, and yes, he is, which is good. He's been one of the better quarterbacks in the league for a long time now. We'll get back to you in just 1 second, Jordan. But the fans have been giving him respect, saying, okay, wow, Matthew Stafford is really good. But the team itself, still not giving him any respect in terms of what they've been putting around him. That goes on the GM. That's why he was fired as well. We'll talk about that probably later on in the video also. But, I know Matt Patricia is a defensive-minded guy, but you've got to help out your quarterback if you want to win games. And this was a team heading into the year where people said they can get it turned around. They had the potential to get it turned around. Probably a top 10 quarterback in the league, in some people's opinions, probably in my opinion as well. And, some good wide receivers around him. Granted, Kenny Galladay has been hurt a lot. Marvin Jones. They got the rookie Quintez Cephas. There's a couple guys mixed in there that can make an impact. It just hasn't happened yet. Not to mention the new running back in DeAndre Swift, the rookie. And then the defense is not terrible either. Just none of it is coming to fruition. And if that's not happening in Detroit, you got to get them out because it's been bad for so long. You need someone to turn it around, especially after a 9-7 season. To only win 13 games, 3 years in total, that's just not good. 13-29-1, I believe, is his record. So double the losses than the wins, more than double the losses in Matt Patricia's tenure. It was time, in my opinion.
Well, right now, this is what I was going to mention earlier before I completely lost my train of thought. It's not the first time that happened. I'm sorry. But what I was going to say was that this year, this team was looking up, and I think that currently, whether Matt Patricia and Bob Quinn were still there or not, this team is going in the upward direction. They haven't had good running backs there in a long time. Now they got at least 2 decent ones. They got Adrian Peterson playing pretty well, and they have the young DeAndre Swift, who I think they really like. I think is going to be really great for them in the future. So finally, they have that running back to balance out their offense. Matthew Stafford's playing decent football, though he doesn't have that many people to throw to. I think this team, they changed drastically when they have Kenny Galladay in the lineup. I think he is a game changer for this Lions team. I think when he was on the field, they play so much better football, and he's just been banged up this year. It's been tough for him, and therefore tough for the Lions. I'd like to see him back out in the field. As for the defense, it's been tough, and I think they are definitely in a rebuild. Talking about injuries with Kenny Galladay, there's also been injuries on the defensive side of the ball. I know Desmond Trufant has been in and out of the lineup, the corner, and also another corner, Jeff Okudah, number 3 overall pick. He's been banged up as well. They really want to see him stay on the field. Obviously, they like what his talent is. And it's just been tough. I think this team is looking in the upward direction. I think that Bob Quinn and Matt Patricia were starting to build their young roster. And it's unfortunate for them that they got fired at the time that they did, because I think that they were going to do some good stuff if they were able to stay here. But Lions fans and the Lions management, upper management, I should say, they had reasoning to want them out, and they got them out. They thought it was the best move for their franchise. So we'll see what happens in the future. Who's their interim?
Darryl Bevell.
He's the offensive coordinator.
Yep.
Yeah. So we'll see what he can do. We've seen some interim coaches do some pretty good stuff this year. You see Romeo Cornell with the Texans getting them some wins. The Falcons, they've been doing some good stuff with Raheem Morris. So we'll see what goes down with Darryl Bevell.
Something else to point out, with whenever you fire your coach this year, the theme has been the team wins the first game under the interim head coach. So that could mean good things for the Lions this weekend against the Bears. As a Bears fan, I hope that's not going to happen. But, I
think there's a good shot.
We'll see what happens. But Jordan, you mentioned that this team is going in the right direction. Yeah, they are, because they needed a house clean and they got one. And I don't know if Matthew Stafford's even going to be here next year. I would not blame him at all if he wanted to leave. I'm surprised he didn't want to leave earlier, to be frank with you, because he does not deserve this. Lions fans will even tell you this. It's just been an ugly spot for him to play, especially for a player of his caliber. And they need to get an offensive-minded head coach in there and help him out if he's still going to be there in the first place. I hope that's what they do, and I hope this team succeeds, because I feel bad for Lions fans. And even being part of the NFC North as a Bears fan, I would like to see this team succeed, because they've just been bad for so long, and it's saddening to me.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Sorry, Ron, I'll go real quickly. You said with Matthew Stafford, you think he might want to get out of there. I think at this point, yes, it's been a long time coming, but I think this is the point where if you're Matthew Stafford, you're saying, okay, I think brighter days are ahead. I know as a Lions fan, you might be thinking that a lot, and the darkness still stayed, but really, I think it's true this time. I think that the key, like I mentioned before, get a good running back. They have not had one since Barry Sanders. And so they really needed a good running back. I think that the running backs they have now, I know Adrian Peterson will be gone soon.
We thought Kerryon Johnson was going to be that guy a couple years ago, too, and that just hasn't been the case.
He's still getting thrown in there, but really DeAndre Swift's the guy who's going to take over. I think that's going to transform this team. This defense needs to get a little bit better, and I think if Kenny Galladay is able to stay on the field, they're able to maintain receivers like Marvin Jones Jr. Hopefully Quintez Cephas can turn it up. Marvin Hall has been doing some good stuff in the deep ball. I think this team is trending in the right direction. It looked like it earlier in the season. There was a point where Ryan asked me and Tyler as Bears fans, are we afraid the Lions taking the division? Obviously, that's not going too well right now. But there was a point where they were competing, and they looked like a really good team. I think they are very close. I think next year they'll get better. And the year after that, they can be competing for playoffs. So we'll see what goes down with this Lions organization. But if I'm Matthew Stafford, I think this is the last chance where you're thinking, okay, I really think the brighter days are on the horizon right now.
Yeah, and what I was going to kind of mention is with the topic of Matthew Stafford, people might be thinking, and it honestly kind of makes more sense when you think about it, the fact of wasting someone's career, like Matthew Stafford, we know he's so good, he's getting the appreciation he deserves, but if he's on another team, does he have a Super Bowl ring? Does he have more playoff wins? Is he more popular? It's kind of like what we saw with a while back, what we saw with Calvin Johnson. People criticize them of wasting his career, and maybe some people say he retired.
And Julio Jones, he's also being thrown into that conversation a little bit.
Yes, but they did at least make it to a Super Bowl in Atlanta, but Detroit, I don't think they've ever been to a Super Bowl, so. No. It's just kind of like the same thing we had with Megatron, where some people thought that he retired when he did because he was just like, this team's not going anywhere. I mean, that's speculation. That's speculation. I don't know. That's speculation. We don't know, but I remember hearing that rumor when that happened. So it's the same with Matthew Stafford, because it's very frustrating when you have a truly good player, especially at a position like quarterback, and especially a guy who is finally getting the respect he deserves. He was widely underrated coming in this year, but I think now he's getting the respect he deserves, at least at this table. I know he is, and even around the league.
You know how much I like him, too.
Yes, and, you were ahead of the curve on that, but I think, Tyler and I also knew he was underrated coming into the year, but I don't know with Detroit. I mean, you think something's got to change, at least, maybe you'll hit on a draft pick. I mean, I don't know how much cap space they have, but, things have to change there, because when you look at what they've done in the past, decade or so, I mean, I remember they got to the playoffs one time and they lost to the Seahawks, but I mean, it has not been very pretty, but we'll see. I mean, they could turn it around. We'll see who they get at head coach. There's a lot of names that are being thrown out into the, head coaching rumors already, so I'm eager to see what this offseason is going to look like for this team, because you really feel like, we say it every year, but you really feel like they're only a few pieces away. If that's true, time will tell, but we'll just have to wait and see what they do come offseason.
Yeah, well, let's talk about the GM side of this.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys are laughing at the way I said that, but that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So I was kind of just waiting for my opportunity to be able to speak again, and I just got a little bit excited there. But let's talk about the GM aspect of this, because Bob Quinn, their GM, was also fired. We have not hit on it as much. We talked a lot about Matt Patricia, but in the last 3 years, it hasn't been too bad in terms of the draft. They hit on guys like Frank Ragnow. We talked about Kerryon Johnson having opportunity.
Who's next there?
Tracy Walker was on there. And then they got T.J. Hawkinson in the first round. He's starting to pan out a bit more. Austin Bryant, who they're starting to use. Amani Oruwariye, who I liked out of Penn State, who's getting a bit more attention and use for the Lions.
Jim and Tony struggled to say his name. They were pronouncing it wrong.
Yeah, Oruwariye was one that I liked before the draft. So he's one that I've known his name for a while. And then this year, we haven't seen much of him yet, but Jeff Okudah, DeAndre Swift, Julian Akwara, Jonah Jackson, I believe, has been pretty good. Quintez Cephas, I mentioned earlier, so not a terrible draft for them. They've had more draft picks than usual this year, I believe, as well, at least from what I'm looking at. Those were the last 3 years for them, and that's just the draft, but even if you're hitting on some guys, if you can't put a good enough team together at some point, you're going to be fired in this league, and we saw that because this team has not been good for a while.
And I think this Lions draft this year was good. I like DeAndre Swift, as I've pointed out. This is my third time already in this video.
Do you like DeAndre Swift?
I do. I think I like him with this team, not more than Clyde Edwards-Helaire, though. The best running back out of last year's class, in my opinion. I still stand by it. But I like him. I also like Jeff Okudah. I think when he's on the field, he's a great corner, and so many people liked him coming out of Ohio State. He was basically number one on everyone's cornerback boards, including all three of ours. So there was not even much question with that. When Daniel Jeremiah, I haven't mentioned his name in a while, but here it comes. Daniel Jeremiah was asked who was the best corner. He said Jeff Okudah by far. He's at the top of his board. It's really not even close. I think that when he's healthy, it's going to be really good for this team. Other guys as well they hit on. I think they're going to do some good stuff. T.J. Hawkinson, a good draft pick from a few years ago. He's finally starting to get more involved with the offense with the absence of Kenny Galladay on the field. Matthew Stafford has to look somewhere else, and that's been towards T.J. Hawkinson. So, as I said, I think their drafts recently have been good. Now, obviously, before that, they were not too great, and I think that's a big part of why Bob Quinn has gone too. I think it probably could have happened either way if this team still wasn't doing good. Anyways, I think they've had better drafts recently, and I'm going to say it again. It's lucking up, Lions fans, but you know what? You've heard that too much, so I'll just let you decide your own fate.
Well, it is looking up, and we've said that before. Like Jordan said, it's been mentioned probably for the last 3 years. Like, this is the year for Lions fans, and just hasn't panned out. But you're gonna get a new coach next year, a new GM. We're gonna see what happens the rest of this year and throughout. But there's still a chance for these Lions fans and this Lions team to get back to the top of the division, like the Barry Sanders days. And we'll see what happens. But we're excited to find out. As you can see, there's some indecision on the decision that the Lions made to fire both their GM and their head coach. So let us know what you guys think down below. Was this the right decision to do at this time? Yes or no? Also, make sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel, hit the notification bell. Like I said, comment below. Go check out our podcast, as we mentioned multiple times throughout this video. And with that, we will see you guys later.
See ya.